So today we are going to discuss about personal capacity. Uh, we have so far completed the different elements of tort, which I hope is quite clear to you. We also discussed the important cases, relevant cases. Kindly refer to them, study them. If you have any confusions, feel free to ask me questions. Do not merely rely on the recorded videos that I have uploaded. It's quite possible that I have gone wrong somewhere. I'm teaching the subject for the first time, so it's highly likely that I mess up here and there. But then, if you point it out, then I will make amends to whatever mistakes I make. So today, a very important topic that we take up, it is on the question of personal capacity. So when we say capacity, we are essentially referring to, who can sue in tort and who can be sued in tort, okay? So we know that tort is a civil wrong, okay? You can institute a civil action, okay, in a court. So who are eligible to sue and who can be sued, okay? These are the two things that we are going to look at. So when I say personal capacity, I'm essentially referring to persons who can sue in tort or persons who cannot sue in tort, and persons who can be sued against, persons who cannot be sued against, okay? So these will broadly overlap in the topics that we are going to discuss today. So as I told you, I'm referring to these two books, okay, Ratanlal Dhirajlal, in the Indian context, Ratanlal Dhirajlal, and the other one is Avtar Singh, okay. You will see that most of the contents are more or less the same in both the books, okay, even in the order in which the topics appear are more or less the same. So if you get hold of one, that will suffice. You don't need both the books. And if you miss out on anything, I'm here to help you out. So yes, let's start with personal capacity. Okay, so first let's start with who cannot sue. Okay, so the first here is convicts. Okay, someone who has been convicted, probably imprisoned. Okay, or who's in custody. Okay, so can such a person sue in law? So tort is a civil wrong, so it could happen, for example, as against, so the person who's in custody can be assaulted, as you know, quite often that happens. Battery is there, all that things happen, okay. Person who's in custody could also be defamed, if not for what he has done, for other things as well, okay, could be defamed, okay. A person who's in custody definitely possess property, own property, so tort can also be committed, with regard to that property, okay. The question that arises, that when you are, convicted, okay, do you lose all those rights, okay? Because if you have right, then we know that ubi just ibi remedium, you have a remedy. So if any harm is caused, okay, then you can initiate a suit, okay. So what about convicts, okay, those who are, imprisoned maybe, okay. So earlier, in common law legal system, especially in England, the idea initially was that once you were, incarcerated, okay, once you are sentenced, okay, while the sentence is in force, okay, and you are not lawfully, outside, okay, you could not sue for an injury to your property, because the property will now be now not within your control, okay. So maybe the property has been confiscated or whatever, okay. So you cannot sue for that, okay. But as of now, it no longer exists. So an act has been enacted known as Criminal Justice Act. As you know, common law quite often is motivated, changed, okay, by statutory enactments. So by virtue of this particular act, okay, the common law has been modified, okay. Common law has been superseded, okay. And as of now, being a convict is not a disability for you. You can institute a suit, even with regard to your property, if any tort has been committed, okay. So that's the English position. So what is the position in India? In India, just like in England after the act, okay, no such disability is imposed on a convict. Okay, so we have an important case by the name D. Bhuvan Mohan Patnaik and others versus State of Andhra Pradesh and others. I'll just type it here. Okay, just a second. Okay, so in this case, Justice Y.V. Chandrachud had said something with regard to this matter. Okay, so he said, convicts are not, okay, listen to me carefully if I'm audible to you. If not, let me know. Convicts are not, by mere reason of conviction, denuded of all the fundamental rights which they otherwise possess. Okay, a compulsion under the authority of law following upon a conviction to live in a prison house entails too, by its own force, the deprivation of fundamental freedoms like right to move freely throughout the territory of India or the right to practice a profession. A man of profession would thus stand stripped of right to hold consultations while serving out his sentence. But the Constitution guarantees other freedoms like the right to acquire, hold, and dispose of property, for the exercise of which incarceration, means imprisonment, can be no impediment. Likewise, even a convict is entitled to precious right guaranteed by Article 21 of the Constitution, that he shall not be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by the law. This view was subsequently confirmed in Sunil Batra versus Delhi administration, agreed to by Justice V.R. Krishna here. So as you can clearly see, okay, probably difficult to recollect the entire quote that I have just mentioned, but the essence is this: that so if you have committed some crime and you are convicted and then imprisoned, what do you lose? You lose only your personal liberty of what? To like move freely about, okay? Or as has been said here, you cannot practice a particular profession. So the freedoms that are taken away from you are only the ones that are taken away from you lawfully, okay? So you do not, just because you have been incarcerated, you do not lose your right to life, okay? You do not lose your right to property. You do not lose your right to hold or acquire property. So with respect to all those rights which remain, okay, alive, okay, if any such infringement happens, then definitely a cause of action arises. So even while you are in a custody, police custody, if you are brutalized, okay, apart from the crime that obviously happens, you can also institute a civil suit, okay, of whatever nature that is allowed. So that is essentially the case that we have so far, okay, with respect to convicts. Okay, only those liberties which are taken away, okay, by virtue of the law, okay, are justified, but all other denial of rights are not justified. So just because you have been imprisoned, you cannot be brutalized, you cannot be ill-treated, okay? So those rights still remain, active, alive. So are you guys clear with respect to, convict? A convict can definitely sue in tort with respect to the rights that he or she has not, lost. With respect to all rights that he or she possess, can very much, sue in tort. Is it clear?
Sir, I wanted to ask something.
Yes.
Sir, as you mentioned about Justice Chandrachud's remarks in this case, sir, one thing we have to see that this case was of 1974, where right to property was still a fundamental right. But after the 44th Amendment, it was removed from the list of fundamental rights. So does that change the operation of this judgment?
When it says it is still a constitutional right, isn't it? We don't say that you do not have property right. If that were the case, it can be taken away from you arbitrarily without any reason whatsoever. Now, with respect to right to property, we have a entire detailed history that we have to go through. The tussle between judiciary that was trying to protect right to property, and on the other hand, executive that wanted to bring about land reforms. Okay, all those things ultimately culminated in we losing property as a fundamental right. But that nonetheless, that still does not mean that you lose your property right completely. That's definitely not the case. Okay, if that were the case, as you are suggesting, that should be applicable to all and not just convicts, at least in this case. Okay, so we have not lost our right to property. It's just that it's not considered as fundamental right. And if you were to ask me personally what I believe in, I believe that with certain modifications, the right should be reverted back to fundamental right. Okay, because earlier the question was, redistribution. As of now, if we are to assume that redistribution has happened, so let us just revert back to calling right to property as a fundamental right. So anyway, that's the case. Okay, so without going much into all those discussions for now, just have this idea in your head that if one is convicted, put in imprisonment, tort can still be committed with respect to his property. So that person is within his rights to institute a civil action. So being convicted is not a disability. Okay, so you can sue. So next, there is one. There are a few other cases. Okay, that you can refer to. I will give you guys links to all those if you need it. Okay, so as I told you, okay, if you are if you are in custody and you have been ill-treated, okay, you have been brutalized, even then, so just because you have been put in custody, for example, I mentioned Sunil Batra in Delhi administration. Okay, so it has been held that the same cannot be, custodial torture is not justified. So you can, even for those, okay, you can initiate a civil suit apart from criminal action that lies. Okay, so the next is alien enemy. Okay, now who's an alien enemy? I'm not referring to aliens from different worlds, okay, from Mars, but another country. Okay, another country maybe we are at war with. Okay, so they could very much be considered as an alien enemy. So what about, if some citizen of that alien enemy residing within the territory, okay, does that person, that citizen of that other country lose their capacity of, initiating a civil suit? So with respect to that, you have to refer to section 83 of, CPC, Civil Procedure Code. So the said person can initiate a suit only under this provision of the CPC. Okay, so if you, I'll just put it there if you do not have instant access. Let's see. Okay, so it's there before you. It says when aliens may sue. Okay, not aliens from Independence Day, huh? So alien enemies residing in India. Okay, so a country, maybe India is at war. Okay, so alien enemies residing in India with the permission of the central government and alien friends may sue in any court otherwise competent to try the suit as if they were citizens of India, but alien enemies residing in India without such permission or residing in a foreign country shall not sue in such a court. Okay, so the only case when it is allowed is that citizens of alien enemy residing in India with permission, okay, has to get the permission from the central government and then can initiate a civil suit. Okay, not otherwise. So what does the explanation say? It says every person residing in a foreign country, okay, the government of which is at war with India, okay, and carrying on business in that country without, license. Okay, the whole thing has not gone there. I'll just put the whole thing. So that's license. Okay, without a license in that behalf, granted by the central government, shall for the purpose of this section be deemed to be an alien enemy residing in a foreign country. So basically a country that we are at war with. Okay, and if the said citizen residing in India has been given permission, then once a citizen like that can institute a suit. Is that clear? Okay, so it's very simple. I mean, if the alien enemy is residing within India, citizen, okay, of that country is residing within India, then has to take permission from the central government and then can initiate a civil suit. Okay? With respect to tort, essentially. Okay?
Sir, this was section 83 of CPC, right?
Yes, section 83 of CPC.
Thank you.
Okay. You can just browse it, you will find it there. Okay, if you have a Bayer Act, very good. Otherwise, it's available as well. Okay. So we have completed 2. Then an interesting case comes. Okay, that of between husband and wife. Okay. So why are we studying husband and wife separately? Aren't they both humans? So they both should be capable of both suing and being sued. Okay. But here's the funny thing, that at common law, historically, husband and wife were considered one. Okay. Once the marriage happens, the wife, not the husband, the wife lost her in a separate identity. Okay, she becomes one in body and flesh with that of husband. Sounds so romantic, but not really, because she would essentially lose all her agency. She would be considered as an attachment or a property belonging to the husband. Okay, so where did it all come from? Okay, this idea of husband and wife unity. It came from essentially that biblical idea that Eve was created by removing a rib from Adam's body, and then she was created to accompany Adam, and they would essentially give each other company, and they would marry and become united in body and flesh. Okay, so that idea was taken up by common judges. Okay, in the common law court. And eventually in common law became, this doctrine of unity of husband and wife. Okay. So what is the implication of that? So when the wife is married to the husband, while the marriage subsists, the wife loses her personality. Okay. As in she becomes a chattel for the husband. Okay. It doesn't say anywhere, but it's no worse. It's like owning a dog, nothing else. Okay. It used to be like that. So what happened then? So what is the implication of that? What was the historical implication of that? So that was the sad reality. Okay, and look, so many things happened. Women's emancipation happened. We are not yet in that era. Okay, so until that happened, so 2 situations could arise. Okay, so it either could be that we can think of suit between the husband and wife, and we can think in terms of someone else suing the wife, okay, or wife suing someone else. Okay, 2 situations arise. Okay, so in a wife could not, so between them, okay, the wife could not sue her husband, okay, nor could the husband sue his wife. Okay, so it's essentially based on this idea that they both are united into one person. Okay, if they are one person, so law recognizes them as one person, so they cannot sue each other. And then certain law reforms act was enacted. So English Law Reform Husband and Wife Act 1962 was enacted. Okay, and now after this act, both the parties can sue each other in tort. Okay, with certain exceptions. Okay, so for example, defamation and all. Okay, so with certain exceptions, now they can sue each other. Okay, so that's the first case. Okay, within the marriage, okay, historically separate personality was not recognized. They were considered one, so they could not sue. But now they are recognized as separate personality, and they can very much sue each other. Now comes the second situation when someone else sues them. So what was the historical situation in England? So no one could sue the wife individually. Has to also make the husband one of the parties. Okay, so they have to both be made jointly liable here, joint here. Okay, as defendant. Okay, nor could the wife sue others without making husband as one of the parties. Okay, so they will be joint plaintiff and joint defendant. Okay, so that was essentially the case. Okay, ultimately what it meant was that the wife was incapable of having legal personality. But then many other acts were enacted. So English Married Women's Property Act 1882. You don't need to remember all this, just for the sake of your information. Then another act was enacted, by the name Married Women's Tort Act of 1935. So culmination of all these three acts is that as of now, the law is simply this, that husband and women, okay, even though they are united in marriage, okay, they can sue each other, okay, and then the wife can be sued by someone else, and so can the wife sue someone else without having this requirement of making her husband as joint plaintiff. Okay, that's the situation now. And since she has her own property, so whenever the wife is sued, okay, and some liabilities in terms of property arises, of course compensation takes effect on the property that you own. So with regard to that, the wife can be individually made liable. Okay, so that's the situation as it exists. So she is now to the fullest extent treated as femme sole. Okay, so she is independent being now, but historically it wasn't the case, because it's only recently that we got out of this entire patriarchal stranglehold. So what about India? In India, as you know, with respect to, because compensation has implication on property, okay, so in India, your property, what you are entitled to, what you hold, will quite often be determined by your personal laws, okay, Hindu law, Islamic law, whatever, okay. So it is essentially governed by the personal laws, okay. But then what is the reality? So none of these personal laws that we are talking about says that they become united. So in India, under all these cases, okay, the wife can sue the husband can sue wife, okay, and so would be the case with them suing others, okay. But with respect to Christians, this problem was there until this Married Women's Property Act 1874 was enacted, and after that their status is the same. Okay, so husband can sue the wife can sue the husband, the wife can sue someone else, okay, without making husband one of the plaintiffs, and so can someone else sue the wife without the necessity of making the husband one of the defendants here. So that's the status, okay, with respect to husband-wife. So are you guys clear with this explanation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So most of you have vanished. I don't see you. I get bored if I don't see you guys. Turn your videos on. It's fine.
So could you repeat the name of the act again?
Which one do you want? The Indian one or the English one?
Sir.
It's Married Women's Property Act. Okay, Married Women's Property Act. I will type it. Wait.
Sir, I wanted to know that are we discussing those who can sue or cannot sue?
Just a second. Yeah, so see, as I said, this will overlap. So with respect to this, okay. So with respect to this, both the things apply. So earlier, under common law, the rule was that the wife could not sue all alone. She has to make her husband one of the, a joint plaintiff, okay? Nor could the wife be sued all alone till she is married without making the husband one of the joint defendants, okay? Is that clear? So it applies either way. But as of now, things have changed, okay? Everyone is treated equally, and in India, Article 14 is there, okay, that talks about equality. That when it talks about equality, it also means that equality of personality, isn't it? So wife does not lose her personality once she is married, okay. She still has her personality, so she has her legal personality. The moment she has legal personality, she has the capacity of being sued as well as sued. So that's the status as of today in India. Is that clear? Okay. Okay then, we don't have much time, but we will start one more case here. So that's the case of, what do you call it? A corporation, okay, a corporation. Now, what's a corporation? A corporation is a case of, personality, legal personality, okay? A corporation is not a natural person. So who is a natural person? Humans are natural persons, unless you are not recognized as one. That is no longer the case, but it used to be the case historically that humans who are natural persons were not considered as persons. So for example, if you were a slave, okay, then you don't have personality. Okay, so you do not have protections of the law as applicable to natural persons. But that's no longer the case. Okay, we do not have that as of now. If you're human, you are a natural person, you have the capacity of being sued as well as to sue. So is the case with women. Okay, they are humans. So yeah, even though historically the patriarchal world, denied, that recognition. Anyway, so that's there. Okay, but not all persons, okay, personality as recognized by law, are humans. Okay, so corporations are case of legal personality. Okay, they're not natural persons. But they are recognized as capable of having personality. Okay, so what does it mean to say that they are capable of having personality? Essentially means that they are capable of being sued and they are capable of suing. They can acquire whole property. Okay, there is perpetual succession and so on and so forth. Okay, we will discuss that in greater detail later on. Okay, so this is essentially what it is. Okay, corporation is not a natural person but a legal person, so its personality is recognized under the law by a fiction. Okay, now how does a corporation come into existence? Okay, a corporation could very much come into existence under a particular law enacted by the legislature. So a legislature can enact a law and bring into existence a corporation, or it could very much be created under the Companies Act 2013. Okay, as it exists. Okay, so you can incorporate a company, okay, under the Companies Act 2013, okay, or it could also be created by virtue of an act of a legislature. The effect essentially is that once it has been created or once the company has been incorporated, it has now become a body corporate capable of suing and being sued. Okay, apart from all other incidences which are possible. So what about corporation then? Because I just said generally, I just made this general remark that corporations are capable of suing and being sued. So does this power that I'm talking about of corporation, is it coextensive with natural persons? Okay, is it the same as natural persons? Well, that's not the case. That's not the case. But as you see in some certain legal systems, you see that the corporations are treated almost at par with humans, if not more. So, for example, in the United States, they recognize corporations' freedom of speech and expression much more than it is recognized of that of humans. Okay, but anyway, that's a separate topic in itself. But in India, or for that matter in other common law countries, not all rights that humans have are recognized with regard to that of corporations. So even in tort, certain limitations are imposed on corporations. Okay, so what are those? That a corporation cannot maintain an action for personal wrongs. Okay, so so what does it mean? See, a corporation is not a human being. Okay, a corporation is not a human being. Okay, so essentially is that, okay, there are so many personal consequences that humans suffer that corporations do not. Okay, but one may say that ultimately there are shareholders, there are employees, so many other positions are there. Okay, you have, so maybe it affects them. Okay, but that's not the case though. Why? Once a company is incorporated, the people who hold different positions, the shareholders, they are different. The company has a separate legal personality. Okay, since the company has separate legal personality, so we cannot say that the corporation, okay, which has a body corporate, which is recognized by virtue of fiction, as being the same thing as humans are. That's definitely not the case. Okay, so it cannot be the case that humans and corporations are treated alike. So yes, a corporation. In case of corporation, so you cannot maintain an action for personal wrongs. Okay, so what are those personal wrongs? So libel, charging it with corruption. Okay, so merely saying that, okay, it affects my reputation, okay, will not be enough unless you say that, okay, it also has some property. So for example, if someone said something defamatory, thing about the company, okay, and that affects your business, your property, in such case you can definitely initiate a suit. But in all other cases, okay, you cannot say that, this has affect my personality, because you do not have the same personality as humans unless it also has some property implication. So is this clear? It's simple, isn't it? It's not a human, it's a creation of legal fiction, so it cannot be treated the same way as we treat humans, okay. That's the case, okay. In all other case, it can definitely maintain an action, but not in case of personal wrongs. In proprietary matters, it can definitely, something that affects his property or business, it can definitely sue, okay. So yes, so you can trespass company's property, as you know, okay. All those things are possible, okay. What about corporation? What about when one wants to sue the corporation, okay, in what matters can the corporation be sued, okay. So because they are legal persons, so the incident is quite clear that you can sue the corporation. So a corporation can be sued, okay. However, there are certain restrictions, okay, but those restrictions are diminishing every other day. Yes.
Sir, actually, I had a question. I had to clear something regarding the defamation thing.
Tell me.
So, if someone defames the corporation in its entirety, so the corporation can sue on the level as a whole. Not nobody in the corporation can, on a personal capacity, sue for the defamation. Right? That's what you were saying.
So here's the thing, okay. If it affects someone personally, okay, then it's definitely not a matter for the corporation. Got the idea? But we are, suppose someone says that this corporation, okay, indulges in so and so corrupt practice, okay, and it is not a truth, okay. If it is a truth, then truth is always a defense, okay.
Yes.
Truth is a defense. But if it is not a truth, okay, it could very much affect business, okay. So for example, the said corporation that produces this car indulges in these kind of unfair activities, okay. They are lying about the pollution that their car is capable of creating, okay. So if you're saying things of that sort that affects their business, then you understand this is not merely a personal slander or personal libel, but it also affects their property
as a whole.
So does it make sense to say that, okay, that corporation is what should I say? So for example, you can say something about humans that that fellow is a illegitimate child, or his father had relation with or mother has relation with this. You can say things like that, okay. Then you can sue, okay. But would it make sense to say something of that sort with regard to corporation? It wouldn't. It's just not capable of being wronged personally, but it can definitely be wronged in terms of its property and business, okay. In those matters, because it is the compensation is.
Is there a financial or economic?
Yes, exactly. So in those matters, it is definitely the corporation can definitely sue with respect to that matter. As simple as it is, okay. It is very clear. Clear. Now, in this,
sir,
yes, Arnav.
Sir, can you please tell me the meaning of maintaining action? What does it mean?
Sorry?
Maintain action. You have told us that a corporation cannot maintain action.
Okay, so it's basically, can it institute a civil suit? That's what I'm saying.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Can the corporation institute a suit? Okay, that's essentially, maintaining action is essentially the same thing, okay. So can the corporation institute a suit, okay, civil suit? I mean, with respect to this particular tort that I'm referring to, okay, that's what I meant. So is it clear so far? Okay, so I think we are past our time, okay, so we will proceed with the remaining discussion in the next class, okay. In the next class, we will discuss about in what situation can we sue the corporation, okay. So you guys go back and refer to the readings that you probably have already, the books, okay? Then we will discuss the remaining things tomorrow.